Now turn up.
Ooh, is this calling your name? Do you feel like you could win this? Well, you could if you are a subscriber. When we get to 1,000, which is going to be very soon here, we will be giving it away to one of you guys. So, Jackson's over here, my co-host. He might be sleeping, or he might just stare into your eyes there because he's looking pretty tired. We're going to do early declare versus non-early declare running backs. We did wide receivers. We did that a couple weeks ago. You can just search that or just kind of scroll through and you'll be able to see there was a big difference between early declare and non-early declare, like a ginormous difference. One that actually made me slightly fear Devontae Smith because he's a non-early declare, and it showed that early declare wide receivers have such a huge advantage, or a historical advantage. We are doing, of course, early declare versus non-early declare running backs. So, running backs selected over the past 10 years. We're going to go through the total running backs, 233 of them. So 90 of them have been early declare, 143 have been non-early declare. As a general consensus, there's a big difference if you just kind of look at just this stat. But there's this, and then there's what I'm going to be showing you in a little bit future here in a couple minutes. And there's a big, huge change, so don't just go off of just the first minute of this video, because there's a difference. I'll get to it. Early declare. 53% RB3 plus, RB2 plus, you have a 43% chance, and RB1 plus 24% chance, which is a big difference compared to the non-early declares, which is 21, 14, and 9%. So you have 53 versus 21, you have 43 versus 14%, and as an RB1, you have a 24.4% chance versus 9.79. So a big difference when we look at just the everything. But when we look at kind of that statistics, we are not looking at majority of the running backs that truly matter, which are 1 through 3. Rounds 1 through 3 are the most important running backs. And if you've listened to me at all or watched any of my videos, I have a big dark line after round 3 running backs and wide receivers because there's a ginormous basically split on that. So now we're down to 69 running backs. So we have 47 early declares, 22 non-early declares. So that'd be like a Najee Harris, a Zach Moss, a Keyshawn Vaughn, all these different running backs. 78% are RB3s when you're in early declare versus 59%. So still a 19% gap at RB3. And then we have a 16% gap at RB2. So we have 61% versus 45%. But RB1, there's only a 4% gap. So 40% and 36%. So that's just something to note. Yeah, you have maybe a little less safer floor, but you have not really a difference in the upside, because RB1, you have 40% versus 36% chance. You're not really talking about that big of a difference. And so I think that's just something to note, something that is very, very important to, because I think everyone goes, oh, non-early declare, like a Najee Harris. Like, oh my goodness, there's a reason why he's not an early declare. And I get that. Even Travis Etienne, a non-early declare. I mean, you get some of these running backs that are non-early declared versus like a Javonte Williams who's an early declare. Let's go through round 1 running backs, which is only 2 of them, which is Najee Harris and Travis Etienne. But there's going to be future round one running backs as well. And so there's 16 of them in the past 10 years. We have a 91% chance, if they're a non-early declare, of being at least an RB3. That's a huge chance. And then you have a 91% chance of being an RB2. Like, that is awesome. Like, if he's a non-early declare and a round 1 draftee, you could just pretty much put it in the bank that he's going to be a top 24 running back, which is really, really cool to see. And then 83.3% chance of an RB1. Like, that is what you are looking for. You want that. So, but I mean, there's only probably one of them, and one of them, sometimes there's 0 in a draft class. Sometimes there's only one. If there's one, and are you going to try to, like, how are you going to be able to get that? Like, I mean, the chances are he's going to be drafted 101 in 1 QBs anyways. But let's just look at it non-early declares. You have a 50% chance of being an RB3, 50% chance of being an RB2, and a 50% chance of being an RB1. So you have just a 50-50 chance. So just note that, I mean, sometimes we look at things and go, wow, like, we automatically assume that they're going to be amazing. But there is chances that they could be a David Wilson and not so well. Or even like a Rashad Penny and not do so well because he got hurt. So let's look at back to the 2020 class. We had basically some really high maxed out eligibility kind of, so some non-early declares that were really high hyped towards the end of basically the draft type era, right before the draft. That's what I'm trying to say. So we had basically 4 of them. Let's look at them. Zach Moss maybe can try to have a better sophomore season. I think he will, but right now not looking great. I mean, compared to some of the other running backs that were in that class, and you took Zach Moss over a lot of times Antonio Gibson, a lot of times over maybe like an AJ Dillon. So like that hurts. The next one's Keyshawn Vaughn, and we know how bad Keyshawn Vaughn's been. I mean, he has been very, very, very bad. He just hasn't been on the field either. I mean, it's been like just weird. He just hasn't been on the field. The next one's Joshua Kelly, who is okay. I mean, we can look at that and be like, I mean, he started off, it looked like he was going to be good, and then like Eckler got hurt, and it was like Kelly train, and then he just didn't perform very well, and he got hurt, and it was kind of an issue. And the last one was James Robinson, who was an undrafted free agent, and he looked amazing. He looked amazing as a Jaguar, and then they drafted Travis Etienne. So, still got a little bit of a cough. So, if you're looking at non-early declares, that does not look amazing versus some of the other early declare running backs like Jonathan Taylor and Swift and J.K. Dobbins and CEH, like those. But those were a little bit higher hyped as well. So we have to understand that those were higher hyped running backs, but they were drafted earlier as well. So I think the general thing is, if you are 50-50, if you are like, I don't know who to pick, and so like, let's say you're just sitting there and you're like, Travis Etienne, Javonte Williams, what should I do? Put your odds on Javonte Williams. If you are that much of a coin flip. And even with wide receivers, we talked about this with Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith. What do we do? I see your foot there, buddy. What do we do? I see your foot. You want to show your foot? Oh, he's getting tired. He's going to be taking a nap. What do we do? And I think when you have a tiebreaker, I think early declare versus non-early declare and draft capital are 2 very important things, but sometimes draft capital is not a big difference. If you're drafted in round 1 and the other person's drafted in round 1, analytics don't really care as much, or at least a lot of analytics out there that have been just basically this is round 1, this is round 2, this is round 3. They don't do, this is early round 1, this is mid round 1, this is late round 1. This is something that we could try to dive into, but it takes a lot of work to try to gain those analytics. So in general, if draft capital and player is very equal, non-early declare or early declare is going to be beating non-early declares. So that is where we kind of have to have these tiebreakers. And in situations, there has to be tiebreakers. And sometimes it's nice just to be like, okay, well, that person's younger too. You're going to get an extra year. Like that person's 21 versus that person's 22. You have Najee Harris, who's already 23. I mean, he's a 2020 class, but he just was in the 2021 class. I mean, and so we have to remember that. I think a lot of people are like, oh my goodness, Najee Harris. I love Najee Harris, but he's also 23 years old. Like that does put we are expecting him great things, but he's not going to be great for 6 years. I mean, his upside of being great for 6 years is just down because he's probably going to be great for 23, 24, 25, 26, maybe 27. You got about a 4-year contract, and then you're done. Javonte Williams for a longer distance he's 21, so he could be good until he's 27, same thing, but he could be good for 6 years. So that's one thing, and it doesn't mean that Javonte Williams is ahead of Najee. I have Najee ahead of him because I think Najee's an overall more complete running back, and I think Najee's one of the most overall complete running backs that we've seen in the last couple of years. I think he's improved so much over the last couple of years that it is really nice to see a guy that is that size, 6'2", 220 pounds, that can catch the ball, can hurdle, can do all these different moves. Like, that's not something that we really see. And you can't really even compare him to a lot of the running backs in the last 5 years because he's kind of something different, which is good. Because when Derrick Henry came to the league, we didn't know how to compare him to anybody else because he was different. And sometimes even Christian McCaffrey, who has excelled compared to anybody, and I don't even know why I'm going on this tangent, but I am, so I'm going to continue it. Christian McCaffrey, who was somebody that we was like, oh yeah, he was one of those like quick feet guys, and we're like, wow, this guy just takes a ton of quick steps, very very quick, maybe not super fast, but very very quick, extremely good at the passing game. We'll see if he can actually translate to the NFL. He was a first round pick, and so we're like, okay, we'll see, and he's turned into this monster that's breaking all these different like receiving records and stuff like that, and just been on the field like 99% of the time, which is crazy, and been the number one running back in fantasy and should be in fantasy and in Dynasty as well. So, again, I think that when it comes to running backs, we have to look at certain statistics just as tiebreakers, not necessarily as a give all. So let's just say if you have a difference gaps between like a Najee Harris and Javonte Williams, then Javonte Williams, the early declare, is not going to jump over him. But if you have them neck and neck, then take the Javonte Williams. So like these are again tiebreaker analysis. That's what I believe in. So again, this is Marcus Dynasty Football Dads. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.